write that in so I don't say that on the recording.
Too late to start recording.
Oh, did we?
Right.
We got it. Nice.
I remember expenses.
Yeah, we're good.
All right, I'm going to call the December 13th meeting then of the Police Records Management System Oversight Committee to order. And why don't we start with a roll call, please?
I'll do my best.
Thank you.
Berlin,
Here.
Bloom, Conroy,
Yes.
Fieldman,
Here.
Franz,
Here.
Moranowitz,
Here.
Martinovich,
Here.
McPherson,
Here.
Mendrick,
More from Hendrick.
Zerwin.
We have a quorum.
And Scalera is absent. So, and then Vesta is a vacancy.
Yes. So we can discuss that. On the order of chairman's remarks, yes, I want to acknowledge and thank Chief Greg Vesta for all the time he's put in as chief at Wooddale. He was a leader amongst the chiefs of police in this county and was a huge part of this committee, the whole Hexagon project. So we wish him the best down in warmer weather. And I'm sure he's going to do a great job. Do we have any public comment?
There's no public comment.
There being none, then we will move on to approval of the minutes. For a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in, we don't need a roll call, right? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
All
you.
right. Minutes are approved. Thank you. And then on to item 6, which is all of our reports. A monthly update report for August, September, October, and November. And looking for a motion yet to receive those and place on file. One more second.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we will, those will be received and placed on file. We'll move on to item 7, which is a discussion of invoicing for 2022 actual expenses.
Chairman, I'll turn it over to Dave Jordan. Who will
Please.
give a quick summary.
Thank you, Dave.
Yes, what you're looking at there in the package on the big spreadsheet is different than what you've seen in years past. The purpose of this discussion is to give finance the consensus to go ahead with invoicing FY22 actual expenses, actual cost. That spreadsheet is different this year because county finance has asked that I break that down by fund, which is the 3 funds that we reimburse. One is the first column there is the IT operations, that's county IT expenses for personnel costs. The second column there is the contractual cost of Hexagon, that's a reimbursement to the ETSB. The third column is the equipment replacement breakdown. The column all the way to the right is your grand total of what the agencies will be invoiced. It just breaks it down a little different. We have had agencies in the past ask us to break that down as well, so we will be providing that information in the invoice. Any questions about
Any
it?
questions?
So depending on your direction, I'll be sending the total, the user count there is an updated count from the end of from November 30th. We'll be sending that information to finance for them to generate the numbers, and then I'll be working with internally in county IT to get these invoices sent out. Probably looking at invoices probably be sent out first part of January.
Mr. Chair, I'm having a brain lapse. Dave, just explain the difference between the first 2 columns.
All right, so the very first column is the heading, I'm sorry, well, next to the user number, to the right of that, that's the Judas PRMS. That's the 1115. That's an internal general fund count. That's our county IT budget within the county's budget system. That's personnel cost, training cost, things that get reimbursed back to the county from the project.
Okay.
The next column over is your ETS PRMS ops. That's our contractual expenses with Hexagon that gets reimbursed to ETSB.
Okay.
And then the third column there is the equipment replacement.
Okay. Sorry.
And it's just broken down. If you look at the second page of that, kind of gives you a rundown. It's a rundown of it. And I did that to break out the per user cost. so everybody knows what you're paying per one of those funds.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No other questions, no further discussion on this?
I would ask, county finance is looking to make sure they have direction to go on and process the invoices as long as there's.
Mr. Chair, do you want me to make an informal motion if we should direct county staff to do such? or-
It's kind of it's really
Consensus.
informal, yeah. we're looking for a
It's a
consensus,
discussion.
right? Please,
I don't think there's any objection for, I would recommend that to staff.
does everyone agree?
Yes.
I think we have a consensus on that. Thank you.
All right.
I'll be happy to pump out those invoices.
Happy holidays.
Project updates.
All right, project updates, I'm also going to defer to Dave. We have a presentation that has the details, and feel free to ask any questions along the way.
All right, good afternoon, it's not morning. We did, me and Don Ehrenhaft will be here in a minute, did put together a presentation to kind of give you an overview of what we've been working on in the past 3 months since we've last met. We'll also discuss, I want to inform you about some operational, some personnel changes that we're looking at making, and then we'll get into the three projects for you and give you an update to where we're at. The first slide you have here is listed as PRMS lens. Working with our command focus group, Deputy Chief Kurt Vavra took over that group after Chief Flint had retired. And part of what Deputy Chief Vavra wanted to make sure that we're communicating are our wins. We do a lot of things. We get in the weeds with a lot of information, but we want to take some time to point out some of the accomplishments that we can see things are being accomplished. This is a high-level overview of the accomplishments over the last 3 months. Most of our work in the last 3 months has been very much NIBRS related and on-call analytics related. The first part there, one of the biggest accomplishments that we've had as far as the NIBRS implementation is we are actually in the certification process now. We've begun the certification process with the state. Carroll Stream Police Department is our guinea pig for that. They volunteered to go through that process for the county as a whole. The state is allowing us to certify as a consortium. So we only have one agency. We're going with them. We picked Carroll Stream because they're a medium size. Actually, they're a little bit larger, but not the largest agency. So it's a good sample to make sure that we are certifying that we're catching any issues and that type of stuff. So that's underway. I'll let Don will kind of break down the NIBRS project for you a little bit more. Also, accomplishment was we completed our NIBRS training. In the past, we've had struggles with hexagon-led training. With the work with our command focus group, Deputy Chief Vavra, Chief Shar from Winfield, and Chief Thomas from Darien, along with Hexagon, their executives, Tammy Heaton, the vice president from Hexagon. We rethought through the training process, and we were able to hold the training here, and it was very successful. We did do a survey to our users after the fact to gauge their response, and it was very positive. So we were able to, that was a big win because we've struggled in the past with some of our training with them, next on the list there is on-call analytics, the project closeout. I wanted to bring this to you and I'll talk about it a little more in just a minute. We have formally closed out the project with Hexagon, which is a huge win. It's a major milestone for us. We also are working with the Children's Advocacy Center through the State's Attorney's Office. We've been working with them for a while to get them onto on-call records. To use the system. They were originally planning to come onto the system back 3-4 years ago. However, there was some issues with securing records. We've been able to hammer that. Things have changed in the system. We were able to get those done. The state's attorney is in the process. State's Attorney's Office staff is in the process of training the Children's Advocacy Center, and they'll be going live into on-call records January of 2023. Which is a big hurdle for them as well, that the system's configured, we're just waiting for them to train. The last thing on there is this 10+ age cases closed with Hexagon. Several months ago, Member McPherson took it to Hexagon and put the kind of onus on them to start cleaning up some of our outstanding cases that we have open with Hexagon. They're aged for quite a long time. Hexagon's thrown quite a bit of resources in to help clean those up, along with my staff. And we've been able to work through over 10 of them. There's 11 to 12, maybe 13, but the 13 one actually might be an ETSB ticket, but so we won't claim that one. But we've made a lot of progress in closing out those old tickets that kind of just hang out. They just get long in the tooth and just kind of hang out there. And some of those, yes, they were resolved by Hexagon coming back and saying, no, we can't do it. But I was like, that's fine. At least we know. That way I can go to the chiefs and tell them, give them an answer. So that's been a big accomplishment for us over the past couple of months.
Dave, before you move on, just a couple of three highlights I just want to make about what Dave just went over. Number one, it's the NIBRS completion is a big win for us, right? It's a requirement by the state, and we were able to actually meet that deadline. Early in the year, I wasn't sure we were going to meet the deadline. We were able to, and this goes for both NIBRS and on-call analytics, we're able to work in partnership with the chiefs of police as well as Hexagon to make it happen. Okay, and what we discovered throughout this entire process is that's the only way we're going to be successful moving forward. The PRMS team had taken on the responsibility of a lot of these projects in the past solely, with some oversight and input periodically. That didn't work as well. Now what we're doing moving forward, we're having the chiefs lead some of these initiatives with our project managers and them working together to make it work. It's been very successful over the past 6 or 8 months or so, when we really figured out that we needed that oversight and that kind of collaboration. So the success of those two projects, which happened, I think, in a short period of time, goes through the collaboration that we did. And then the last part was the age closed tickets. I think it's important to highlight that one. We had tickets that were over, what, 2 years old or 18 months old. It didn't make any sense that those things were sitting in the queue and had not been resolved. So we really put pressure on Hexagon to focus time and attention on those tickets and ensure that those things get closed. Moving forward, we're going to manage them in a more aggressive manner and a more consistent manner. We will not let things go over 12, 18 months. So just want to highlight those things.
Yes, and I will kind of piggyback off of Member McPherson's comments. The our command focus group, headed by Deputy Chief Avra, Chief Shar from Winfield, and Chief Thomas from Darien, they've been a godsend really in helping us manage these applications and moving really kind of making sure the responsibilities kind of where they lay. And they've really worked with the agencies to bring them to the table to make sure that they're doing their responsibilities, that allows us to not have to worry about that, to move on. And in that vein of kind of thinking how we operate internally, the next slide, I wanted to talk to you about some changes that we're going to be making here, or that we're discussing here internally as far as our staff, our personnel position here. A couple of months ago, we lost our database administrator. And instead of just refilling that position, we took a minute to kind of reevaluate the role, also reevaluate our current staff and their skill sets and what we actually need. And it was pretty obvious that we don't have a need for an enterprise level database administrator. Most of our current the database administrator that we did, he filled the role. We just don't have, we're not a big operation with a massive database that requires a lot of development. Wasn't something that we needed all of that extra. Also, an enterprise level database administrator commands a pretty good, pretty high starting salary. So we decided to, we went back and we rethought it, and we're actually going to be, we're in conversation with HR right now to basically retire both the PRMS database administrator and the report writer program position, not the person, but the position. We're going to replace those two positions with two new ones. One is the database and analyst and analytics specialist. This would be on par with a database administrator as far as job grade. We are looking at using our current report writer programmer, James Wilkinson. He's internally, in the past couple of years, he's finished his degree, his bachelor's degree from DuPage. He's got an expanded skill set. We'll give him to kind of step into that role. So we're not hiring a new person. Our headcount's not changing. We have had 5 now. We will have 5 moving forward. We're just going to reposition, kind of replace it, reclassify him Also, it's a higher job grade level, so gives them opportunity for career growth. And hopefully, this hiring, I was thinking about hiring a database administrator at this point in time would be a hard thing to do with the job market as it is. James is an excellent employee, and he's got the skill set to do it. So we're looking to move him into that position, give him a little bit of a step up, a career growth. The second position we're looking to add is an application support specialist. This role is an entry-level role designed to provide level 1 and level 2 support to our users, also to assist both in our database and analyst specialists, our analytics part, and also our system administrator. Currently, our system administrator, Fred Brockmere, he handles a lot of his day is dealt with level 1, level 2 service desk requests, which ties up his time. I would like to bring in somebody that's that entry-level position to take that weight off of him so that he can then focus more on the more skilled responsibilities that a system administrator does. We're paying him for. So it's a shift there. The database analyst specialist, I didn't cover their responsibilities there, but the database and analyst specialist, a lot of what that role is going to do will cover what our database administrator was doing. But we're also looking at that position, also looking to the future. We have a new application coming down with this on-call records 10.0. It's got different technology. It's all Microsoft oriented. And we're looking at that position to be able to bring some skills and understanding to that level as well. We've got a lot to learn because it's going to be a new environment for all of us. However, so that's why we chose those two positions, and we did detail out those job descriptions. We've handed those to HR. Yes, sir.
No, I was just gonna just reinforce what you said, and the ultimate message here is that this reconfiguration of the team is all about ensuring that we are structured correctly to support our users now and in the future, right? So we're structuring ourselves for the future. The old team was structured for how we used to operate as a team before, but we took a look at what we're going to support in the future when we upgrade the application. Things like the database administration, we need that support, but not at the same level as before. So this makes us a more nimble organization, a more focused organization. And the great thing is we'll be able to give back some dollars based on us reconfiguring the team.
Yes, and like I said, the head count stays the same. We're not looking to add a head count, but we are looking at approximately $35,000 to $45,000 in a decrease in personnel cost. A lot of that is replacing the job grade of an enterprise database administrator, being able to let that go, still providing internal staff the opportunity to advance with a pay increase, and also bring in support that we need to allow the other team members to focus more on what we need them to today and in the future. Any questions about the personnel changes? Yes.
So the head count will remain at 5.
Yes.
And these are all charged to DuPage fund, right? All those
That's correct.
And so next year, when we do the billing, there should be a slight reduction for DuPage costs.
That's correct.
Yeah, and that 35 to 40,000 is based off of not just their salary, but also the benefit part of that as well. And it is an estimate depending on what we actually hire people in at, what rate we actually hire them, and we won't know specifically. We know the job grade scale is, but and we know what we're looking for as far as cost, and that gives us that $35,000 to $45,000 difference. Not a huge difference, but it's something.
And these positions are specific for PRMS. They don't do anything else but PRMS.
They don't.
They are all ours. Any other questions? Yes.
What are the other 2 positions? Just try to keep it
So,
in my head.
well, down here in half is our business principal analyst. We have Fred Brockmere is our system administrator. Those are those 2 there. And then we're going to be adding this one, the database and analyst and analytics specialist will be James Wilkinson. We'll hire somebody new in for the application support specialist. And then there's my position, which makes the 5.
Thanks for, I think it makes sense. It's always good to look at your structure and make sure you're.
Well, you never want to lose somebody, but when we lost our database administrator, it was an obvious time to rethink this, especially we've been rethinking a lot of things, different areas. Don's come to the table with his experience to rethink things. That things have changed with our command focus group and how we handle those. So it just made sense.
Well, I appreciate being proactive and letting us know on the front end, so thanks.
And this is with HR right now for their review. It's not set in stone, but they have to do their due diligence and flesh out the job descriptions and stuff. Any other questions about this? All right, then we're going to go on and move into the discuss the projects, give you a project update. On the screen here is the 3 projects that we've talked about. We will be dropping on-call analytics records essential. And I'll tell you why that in a minute. The hardware software refresh, and then there's the NIBRS tool, the Illinois NIBRS reporting tool. The on-call analytics project closeout. We've been working with Chief Thomas, Greg Thomas from Darien Police Department. And we formed, I've talked about this last time, we formed a OCA, on-call analytics configuration group, basically led by him and James Wilkinson, our report writer, our current report writer. And we've worked through we've done a lot of work at his direction, which has been great. We have gotten to the point with Hexagon where the chief command group is comfortable with formally closing out the project with Hexagon. What that means basically is, the impact is we move from basically their implementation staff to their product support staff internally within inside Hexagon. That actually gives us more resources than we've had up until this point. Up until this point, we deal with implementers. Now we deal with their product support specialists. And it's not just 2 people, it's a team of people. So it provides us with additional support. All that's covered under our maintenance contracts and that type of stuff. So we're not losing anything there. Chief Thomas was comfortable with moving it through. The system is working. The system's functioning as he likes. It's been interesting to get him into the system and see it. He likes everything he's seeing there. Also, along with that move, just FYI, with Hexagon moving from their the project closeout internally, in my department, we also look at it different as well. From that implementation phase, moving over into the product development support. We're not dropping on support developing reports. We're going to be developing reports until forever, because there will always be a new report. There'll always be additional data to work through. There'll always be requests. So we're not dropping. We're not limiting. Telling people it is what it is. We have a lot of custom report requests. All of that gets filtered through Chief Thomas and our on-call analytics group. Also, there at the bottom, I did want where we're at is we are in the middle of a rather large software update to the analytics product. That's twofold, two areas there. One is the actual on-call analytics software that Hexagon's provided. The other is that's a pretty big Microsoft Power BI server update. We're in the middle of those two. Currently, that product, the analytics software update is going to provide us with some additional utilities and clean up some of the known issues that we've experienced. So we're looking forward to having that done. That's actually in progress right now. Any questions about analytics? I've got another slide here. I just don't want to jump off that slide if you had questions about that. This is a slide that we presented in the past. That's our on-call. At the top is our on-call analytics configuration team. Those are the members of it. The list at the below is basically the dashboard list of all the different dashboards we've been developing. They're all except for the last 2 have been completed. We are holding off. Chief Thomas is holding off his stamp of approval until we get the update done to resolve a couple of the data issues that we're having. And then the last 2 is the performance measures and the subscription reports. Those are on hold until the update's done. The update, just FYI, just so you know, it has taken a little longer than anybody expected because Hexagon had some internal personnel issues. They had a person leave, which goes back to the problem that we've had. One of the person that left was their main implementer, and we were been in implementation mode. But now that we've moved over onto the support side, they've been able to bring more resources in to fill in that gap to get our update moving forward. And then the next 2 slides are just some screen grabs of the analytics tool. What you're looking at right here is from Darien Police Department, but it is it's the crime dashboard, and there's a whole bunch of different tabs. I can go through all of this. This is interactive with the user. It's not here because it's just a screenshot, meaning that the agency can select on, this is the list of offense. there's two here. If they clicked on that button there, the two would pop up here. So it's interactive. It moves, the agencies can drill down into it further. The next slide is basically, this is the same report with just different visuals that Chief Thomas uses and the agencies will use for their annual reports.
And I recommend if anybody's interested in learning more about on-call analytics, we can either do a demo for you or we can do better screenshots and share them with you and highlight that this is hard to see.
Chief Thomas did do a presentation for the DuPage County Chiefs Association several months back with better screenshots. I was just trying to give you a visual so you can see something on here. I'm more than available to once the update's completed to if you're interested to kind of show you more. It is available to all the agencies. Every agency that's part of our consortium.
Did you all record that version?
I did not. It was done at the Chiefs Association, and I don't have control. He did do the same presentation at, well, a similar one, stripped down a condensed version for our user focus group meeting, and I did record that one.
So maybe we can share that with the board so that they just have access to it if they would like to take a look at it.
I have the PowerPoints he used, and we have a video I recorded.
Let's send that out.
You do that. Any other questions about analytics? So like I said before, this project's been closed out. So when we talk about our ongoing projects, we're not going to be talking about this much anymore because it's closed out. We'll still discuss it because it's a big topic. But as far as projects goes, we'll move this more into the operations tab, that we talked about, the operations section. Just so you know that's going to change. I wanted to talk to you also about the hardware software refresh to give you an update where we're at on that. With the hardware software refresh, that's the big upgrade that we discussed. We did the contract restatement back at the beginning of this year. That comes in three parts. One is the hardware installation that's been completed. The hardware has been installed at ACDC and DUCOM. The second phase is basically migrating the virtual environments. All of our servers sit in virtual environments. Hexagon has actually began today. I've been on the phone with them a couple of times this morning to actually start migrating our RMS servers from the old hardware onto the new hardware. It'll take about a week or so to get that completely done. Now, it doesn't affect anybody. It doesn't affect us, doesn't affect end users. It's just moving on to that very expensive hardware we purchased. So just so you know, we're using the new hardware, and the old hardware needs to go away because it's out of warranty and whatnot. And we paid for a bunch of new stuff. So that's actually started this week. The on-call records software upgrade, that's the big upgrade we're talking about system-wise. That takes us to Hexagon's new on-call records 10.0. Also, we get rid of FBR and we bring in their new MFR product, their on-call mobile field reporting application that we're looking forward to. Me and Member McPherson and Don have discussed with Hexagon the timing of that because we don't have a solid timing yet. We put it to Hexagon. We started that conversation, I think, just last week or two ago. Hexagon does have on-call records 10.0 live at one of their other agencies. The MFR, the mobile field responding part, they don't have live yet. They're in the implementation process. And one of the lines that we've drawn in the sand with Hexagon is we're not going on to this until they have it live in other agencies, and that the other agencies are somewhat comparable to us. We're we're strange for Hexagon because we're 32 agencies. We're 1,800 users, which isn't massive. It's larger for them, but they've got bigger customers, but not the complications of 18 different 32 agencies. So we're still in discussions with that. They do have a release coming out, a new release coming out in the end of the first quarter, which is what they're going to go live with the MFR on at the agencies that are in that process. But we still, realistically, us actually getting into this, we're looking towards end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter of 2023. Did you want to add anything to that conversation?
Just two quick things. So Dave mentioned that we're moving basically the application over to the new hardware and there won't be any impact. I just want to make sure it's clear. So from an end user perspective, there won't be any impact to them. They'll still see the same screen, use the same application. But from a back-end perspective, there is performance improvements. Right?
There's a huge.
So it's older equipment, not as reliable, move into newer, faster, better performing hardware. So I just want to make sure that that was clear. The second part, in terms of why we won't move forward, because we don't want to be guinea pigs for Hexagon, right? So a lot of times when you move to a new application and you're the first, they typically know that it's not fully baked. They let you report issues and problems. Then they apply patches to that for the rest of their users, right, the rest of their customers. It happens with all software companies. They send out the first version, the customers or users will go in, bang it, and find problems. Then they'll issue some kind of patch, 3 months, 6 months in, and it fixes a lot of the problems. We want to wait until that happens. So, and then we go live with it. And we think that will probably happen at the end of this year or 2023.
Yes, and Hexagon we also do have lined up with them to do demos, to start doing some demos so that the agencies can start seeing the product. We can start seeing it here. I think the main focus that at first would be with the DuPage County Chiefs Association as far as demos go, so that they can start from the top down. And so they are prepared to start doing demos, and we're working to schedule that first month or two, probably into 2023. Any other questions about the hardware or software project?
We know it's a lot of information, so sorry.
It is.
Should we share it with you?
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Don Aaron-Haff. He's been spearheading the NIBRS reporting tools. I'll let him cover those.
Good afternoon. I'll try to be brief. So one of the big things, and I know Dave talked about it, but and I came on, you all know, just about 6 months ago, and one thing that I was hearing from a lot of the stakeholders was that training with Hexagon had been an issue, and communication surrounding that training was difficult. So it was a big accomplishment to actually get everyone into the training. It was very favorably received. We did some sort of after action on it. Like Dave said, we put out a survey. We got very positive responses, and we actually sent them home with homework because we didn't want them to do their training and then forget how to do it by the time we went live. And so we've gotten a huge amount of engagement. All the agencies have really been reporting bugs, asking questions. It's been a really positive back and forth on the training. Excuse me. The next thing that we've been working on is, I don't know if you remember the last meeting that we had here, we talked about the work we do with our subcommittee, and we worked on the data elements, which are when they're filling out reports, the things that they'll actually see populated in the drop-down menus. Those have been pulled over from the old system, and there was a lot of noise in those. So we really streamlined that. The other thing is all of the new NIBRS requirements, we've gone in and we've tightened everything up, we've cleaned everything up. So we're fully NIBRS compliant, and we set the agencies, just like we were talking about with getting the chiefs involved and the agencies involved, we set them to the task of coordinating their local ordinances with state and federal codes, which had not been done in the system before. They were all, everybody had their own little thing. So now we have sort of a uniform system. It's all populated into IUCS, which is the clerk statute system. And actually I covered both offense table and data elements. It was really a similar process to refine those. And business process labs were a big thing that we pushed after, and that's the homework that I was talking about. They were sort of structured assignments for how to test this, how to work through it. And because of that, we were able to get a lot of information from the users, and we were able to provide them with a lot of answers, which we've really been able to distribute that. When one agency has an issue, they're not in a bubble. We work as a consortium, we certify as a consortium. And so that's been really, and Chief Shar has been really adamant about helping us geographically identify sort of agencies that can work together. They all train together each day that they went. And so that's been extremely helpful, the business process labs. And so the next steps is really they've been ongoing, but we're preparing the agencies for implementation, which part of it is making sure their records departments are ready to handle these things. But also there's police officers who are going to be impacted by what they see when they go to fill out a report. And that's something that these applications are records-based. And so we thought it was important to provide information to the officers. And Chief Thomas was phenomenal, and he built a whole packet. He started training his officers before we even mentioned this. So using that, we're going to be distributing materials for record departments and, you know, police officers for the agencies to use as they see fit. The implementation process is largely behind the scenes IT process where, like I talked about, we're adding NIBR's compliant codes, we're changing data elements, things like that. That's going on right now. And we'll be ready to go in, you know, within the next couple of week or so. And then certification is Carroll Stream is our pilot agency, as Dave mentioned. And we're in that process right now. We're getting a lot of really active feedback from both Carroll Stream and Illinois State Police. And I believe that. Okay, so here, this is just, this is something we showed last time, and several items have, you know, we're just moving through the list. So right now, we're just working on the business process review, moving things into production, like I said, and the certification. Do we have any questions?
Question on that certification.
Absolutely.
I heard it's been, you need what, a 4% with the state
4%.
police? Where are we at right now? Because I heard we're not close to that 4%.
So
Is that right or wrong, I guess would be the question.
4% of what?
4%.
yeah, we need
Error rate?
96% or better error rate. So that was something I had to wrap my head around when I came in. It's not even necessarily what the individual agencies, it's not that the records clerks or the officers are making those mistakes. Right now, this certification process is making sure that Hexagon's tool is sending the data correctly. And so we were at our first submission, we were above 4. We were
Right. Our first submission, yes, it was actually, it was above 4, but there was, you have to think, it's just so you understand the error rate. So if you submit 100 reports, only 4 of them can fail. 4, so 96, or, you know, if you're 2 fail, 3 fail, 4 fail. Our first submission was only 40 something reports.
right.
And we only had, what, 5 issues? 4.
So I
There were
believe
similar issues, but we had issues with about 5 reports. It was 2 main issues. So
absolutely.
that puts our error rate, because we only submitted 47 cases. So it makes everything, so it's not, you know, you say, you know, see 4%, you know, what, that's kind of the tricky part. We're not really there yet to look at that was our first submission. So it was, you know, this first time we sat down and hit the button and sent it. So we're kind of like, okay, there was out of it, there was like 2 main errors that we resolved, and Don can speak to that stuff. But I just want to make sure you understand the error rate.
Yeah, it's that was the point I was getting to, is that if say we were at 10%, it's not 10 distinct problems. What we found is that we actually had 2.5, because one was a known issue, actual issue. So one fix makes a big difference in that. And so that the progress is going to be much more leaps and bounds than it is going to be incremental. You know, each one thing that we fix is going to drastically improve that rate. Right now, we're working on prepping the next, because you submit by month, and we're actually working with the state on a way to validate those before we send them, so that we can be sure that we're getting the most accurate submissions possible.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
One thing I do want to point out about that, the certification process, so everybody's on the same page. And Anthony mentioned it earlier. We're going live January 1st in our system with NIBR's data elements. All of the data elements, all of the statute codes will all be updated in the system January 1st. We've worked with Chief Shar just since is drafting an email he'll be sending to the agencies explaining what's going to happen. You know, between December 31st, you know, that night and the next morning, with some instructions, some recommendations. So we're going live with the data on January 1. We're building those in there. Don's working through those right now. We're putting them, the codes are in the system. We can put a begin date. So the system allows us to have a begin date and an end date. So all the old codes are going to end date on January 31. All the new codes will be in there in 1/1. So all of our codes will be January 1. We're collecting data. That's set. The certification process is a whole different ball of wax, because you know, you go through this process of submitting reports. Thing is you're not always submitting the same reports with the same offense codes. So a lot of times you'll submit this month, you won't have a problem. Next month you might submit, you have a problem. That's because last month you didn't report that specific NIBRS value, that's or UCR code. So the certification process is something that every agency goes through out there. It can take some time. That's okay. I mean, if Carroll Stream doesn't end up certifying until March or February or March, we're fine because we're collecting the data. We talked with the users last week and our user group, January 1, your records divisions are going to be in the system, running the tool, validating things. They're going to be working that tool. Soon as we cleared the certification process with the state, if it's March, then January and February, they've already got prepared in the system. They're doing their daily operations with it, and then they can submit when the certification happens. So we're collecting the data January 1st, no matter what, which puts us in line with what the state needs. If the certification process takes a couple extra months, that's fine. And as long as the agencies are, we'll be working with the agencies to make sure that in January and February, they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Other questions?
Just a quick comment. Really good updates. Really appreciate you taking the time to walk through that with us. It makes it a lot easier for us to comprehend it, since we're not living in it every day like you are.
Agreed. Okay. Any old business? New business, chief pastor replacement. Where do we stand on the letter?
I believe your administrative assistant sent a letter to DuPage mayors and managers, so we're just waiting on a
Determined
response.
under the amended rules does not need board approval.
I believe that's accurate.
Correct.
Right. Okay, so we're just waiting. to follow up with them. Any other new business? We have a motion to adjourn. All in favor? All right, thank you very much. Meeting's adjourned. Back in March.
In February.